Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
My twin brother has had a tough dating life, to say the least. But when we all thought he had finally found someone genuine, he was thrown into a nightmare. My brother is a very rich guy. He struck gold with stocks in college and a series of smart investments later. He's now a very rich 34-year-old. I only wish he had the same success as his professional life in his personal life as well. He had a string of girlfriends after college who basically used him for expensive dates and gifts. That was when he had just started bringing in good money and he was just enjoying the attention without thinking much about it. Well, I gotta say, he learned his lesson. After a lot of heartbreak and some tough lessons, he finally became selective about whom he gets close to. Before I get into what happened at our family dinner, I gotta tell you guys about his ex wife. That was his last big disaster, or so we thought, but more on that later. Anyway, my brother met his ex wife on some dating app and got married when she became pregnant. After the baby was born, my brother became suspicious about whether he was the father or not. He conducted a paternity test without telling her, and sure enough, it came negative. You guys can probably imagine what went on next. A huge, messy divorce. A ton of drama and fighting. A very, very expensive divorce trial. I don't think I've ever seen my brother that devastated. Poor kid felt like he lost everything, and in a way, he did. He lost his wife and child in one go. That was 2 years ago. I wish I could say the time has made things easy between my brother and his ex wife, but that's not how it is. She is insanely demanding, gives him a lot of trouble about the child support and alimony, and keeps saying she needs more and more money. Her reason is always their son, but we all know better. She's obsessed with making designer purchases. If it's not head to toe luxury, she doesn't want it. Given my brother's financial status, the alimony was set quite high. Vindictive as she is, she put everything she had into hiring the best divorce attorneys, and it has unfortunately paid off. They constantly fight, and I think she feels a special kind of joy tormenting him. We all thought things were finally taking a turn for the better when my brother met his new fiancée. They met at a party, and she knew absolutely nothing about his money until about a year of dating. She never showed any interest in it. On the contrary, she was reluctant to even accept gifts because she said she didn't want anyone to think she was with him for the money. At least that's what my brother has told me. Personally, I can never really trust him when it comes to relationships, but this girl seemed like a much needed change. They got engaged 2 months ago. He told me before proposing to her, and I tried to tell him to wait a bit longer before taking such a huge step. But he was convinced that she's the one and that she's not like the others. I didn't push it because I guess I want him to be happy so badly that even I convince myself that it's fine. I wish I had listened to my instincts and stopped my brother. After the engagement, though, whenever I met my brother and his fiancée, I always thought something was off. Obviously, we talked about the upcoming wedding whenever we met, and that made her almost visibly uncomfortable. She often tried to change the topic or avoid questions. I tried to talk to my brother about it, and he just shrugged and said she wants to be in charge of the whole thing and didn't want to discuss it with anyone except him. That was a bit hurtful, but I thought that, oh well, it's their wedding. I shouldn't push her if she's not comfortable. Last weekend, though, things were just too weird to ignore. It was my mom's birthday, and there was a family dinner at her place. My brother and his fiancée were there along with me and a few other family members. I couldn't help but notice my brother's fiancée was looking extra fidgety and uncomfortable the whole time. She kept looking at her phone and texting someone. She was also deliberately staying a bit away from everyone else and excused herself to use the washroom thrice. I was just getting a weird vibe. My brother seemed to be having a great time with mom, going over old family albums, so I didn't want to bother him. Maybe she was just feeling unwell. That's what I thought, until I saw her walk out of the living room for the fourth time. I assumed she was just going to the washroom again, but then I saw her in the driveway from the living room window. Curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to follow her out. I didn't tell anyone else. I took the back door because I didn't want her to see me, obviously, and what I saw blew my mind. My brother's fiancée, the girl we all thought was the furthest thing from trouble, was standing there talking to his ex-wife. I could hardly believe my own eyes. The first thing I did was take out my phone and click a picture of the two of them. I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but it was clear that they were having a fight. Both of them looking really angry, and I could hear some yelling. I even recorded a video, but again, it's not clear what they were saying. After some more aggressive-looking conversation, my brother's ex-wife walked away. I decided to confront his fiancée before she went back in. I called her name and she turned around to face me, still looking visibly shaken up by the conversation. She looked scared at seeing me and tried to force a smile. I directly told her that I had seen her talk to that woman and that I have pictures. I told her to not waste my time and tell me what's going on. And that's how I found out that my brother's fiancée was sent into his life by his ex-wife. The two of them had been in contact throughout the entirety of their relationship. My brother's ex-wife wanted his fiancée to stay with him for a few months, make him give her expensive gifts, which they would later sell and share the profits, and then cheat on him to break his heart. Psychotic, I know. The girl was in on it until she started to feel like she could do it all by herself and marry my brother, so she always has access to his money. This was not something my brother's ex-wife had planned or wanted, which is why the engagement led to many arguments and mutual threats between my brother's ex-wife and his fiancée. That woman told me all of this, and there I was, standing in the driveway questioning my entire life. How can somebody be this psychotic? I don't even know how to describe this situation. I didn't even know how to react. I grabbed my brother's fiancée by the arm, dragged her inside, and almost flung her into the living room where everyone was. My brother was shocked and immediately came to her rescue, asking me what's wrong with me. This made my heart absolutely break thinking of what's coming. I told my brother in front of everyone that his fiancée is not who he thought she was. I told him everything and showed him the picture and videos. I think I've never seen him this broken. Before I showed him the pictures, he refused to believe me. But of course, he couldn't be in denial after all the proof. The girl, to her credit, didn't put up a show either. Hands down, the worst family dinner I've ever attended. The engagement is officially broken. My poor brother is devastated. The girl has moved out of their shared apartment, and my brother says he wants to move out to a different city and start fresh. I don't understand how every person he gets serious with turns out to be such a gold digger. My brother refused to reach out to his ex-wife for clarity and asked me not to do it either. I've been trying to suppress my anger, but I've almost made up my mind to show up directly at her place and do something about what she did. My brother received a very dramatic, very long text from his ex-fiancée. Oh, did I mention that she refused to give back the very expensive engagement ring? But oh well, that's to be expected from someone like her, I guess. The text was said that initially she was in for the money, but then she truly developed feelings for him and that she wanted one last chance to prove that she's not playing him. Absolute garbage, of course. She was literally lying to him for the entirety of the time they've known each other, and there's no question of us ever trusting her again. To answer your questions, yes, I have decided to confront my ex-sister-in-law. Let's see how that goes. I fought with my ex-sister-in-law and almost got arrested. Okay, this is a lot to talk about. I showed up at my ex-sister-in-law's place and started banging on the door until she opened it. She answered from inside and told me to go away, but I was in absolutely no mood to go away. I kept yelling and banging at the door, and eventually she was forced to open up. The first thing she said was that I can't prove anything, and even if I could, my brother deserved every bit of it for being a nasty, stingy a-hole who doesn't pay her child support. Absolute lies. I was infuriated, and we started a huge fight. She was loud. I was certainly loud, and things almost reached a physical point when I think someone called the cops and they pulled up. She lives in an apartment complex, and I guess the language we were using was getting too much. When the cops showed up, my ex-sister-in-law told them I showed up to harass her, and the cops asked her if she wanted to press charges. I told her she can say goodbye to any money and expect a lawsuit if she gets me arrested, and she backed off. So that's what happened. I'm honestly done with this whole nightmare. This is really weird. Why are you so involved in your brother's life? I mean, I get that whatever happened to him was very unfair, but he's a grown man and he can handle his own love life. Back off, maybe? Your ex-sister-in-law is every man's worst nightmare. I'm sure she exploited your brother during their marriage, and just because she is the mother of his kids, he wants to extract every penny she can for herself. As for your brother, I feel really bad for him, but I can't help but feel that he should stop being so gullible when it comes to relationships. I, 18 female, moved out of my father's house a few months ago. I then cut my father off. I currently live with my sister, 27 female, and will be spending Christmas with her and my brother, 26 male. My siblings and I are full siblings, but they haven't had anything to do with our father in a long time. They cut him off while our mom was still alive and they were older. I had to keep going. Then mom died and I was sent to live with him. My siblings were still young, but my sister and brother stuck together to get through. They stayed in touch with me while I was with my father. My father got married to someone while I was living with him, and he had 2 kids with her. My half-siblings are 6 and 5. They adore me, though. I never bonded with them very well. They used to love trying to spend time with me when I lived there. I have not made an effort to see them since moving out because I don't want the contact with my father or his wife. But she will let them call me using her phone. They asked me to come for Christmas. They were saying how they miss me and want to spend time with me and how they wanted to give me gifts. I told them clearly, but also making sure I was kind, that I wouldn't be coming home for Christmas or at all. They cried and told me they missed me and that I would be alone. I told them I would be with my brother and sister. That upset them even more. Afterwards, my father called me using another number and told me I was evil for crushing the kids like that. And he started to say other stuff, but I ended the call and blocked the number. They did call me a few days later and begged me, but I kept my no. This led to them asking why I didn't love them enough to see them for Christmas. I feel bad even though I don't feel close to them or even consider them my true siblings. They are kids, and I know my father isn't a great person, and his wife isn't great either. AITA? NTA. I had to do the same thing to my half-siblings last year, and it was not fun for any of us. I feel for the children, of course, because they are not to blame for the awkward situation. So it is a shame that they are upset, but I don't see any justifiable reason why you should subject yourself to an unhealthy environment for them. You could keep caving and going back to see them, but that's really only delaying the inevitable and prolonging the hurt. However, and this depends on more variables than you've shared, if your father and stepmother are really problematic, chances are the kids will realize this as they're older and want out, just as you did. And it may be good to try to maintain some relationship with them if you can bear it, so they have outside support if they ever also want to leave. Also, while I don't think this should be your responsibility, I fear the resentment that may build because of their sister effectively abandoning them. I say this with the utmost sympathy, of course, but I imagine that's basically how they view it. Just food for thought. NTA, it feels to me like the parents are manipulating them to make it into a bigger deal than it is. Telling them they don't love you if you don't go, etc. If you go, they will be used to manipulate you every time the parents want you to do something you don't want to do. Yes, I feel sorry for the kids, but in the long run, you will be showing the parents they can't use their kids as tools to manipulate you, which will benefit them in future. I would go to your siblings as planned. NTA, you need what's right for you. Given there is definitely something your dad and how he treated and made effort with older siblings. There is always a good reason people go no contact with parents. This is your choice, and your father has to accept your choice. If he wants to improve his relationship with you, then he needs to understand and accept what has led to this situation and take action to attempt to build a relationship, but only if you and your sibling want this. Using emotional blackmail just makes the situation worse. I get that your younger sibling may miss you, but how you feel about your connection is important. You not trying to hurt them, but you sound like you don't have the same connection with them. Good luck for the future and enjoy Christmas your way. Don't let your dad pull you down or doubt your decision. Some relevant background info. My girlfriend, 30, doesn't like driving and doesn't have a car. She owns a flat in the city center on a street blocked off for cars. You have to walk 500 meters from the nearest street with cars, and parking is impossible in at least 2-kilometer radius. She also comes from a wealthy family. Her sister lives with her boyfriend. I come from a lower class family, but have worked my way up to the middle class with hard work and scholarships. I think that could explain my girlfriend's family's attitude towards me because I haven't done anything to them or ever even been rude to them. I'm moving in with my girlfriend, and on the way, my car, which was packed with basically everything I own, broke down. Long story short, I put my car with the nearest mechanic, was told it would take several days, and stepped outside with everything I own in IKEA bags. My family lives far and I don't have any friends in that area. So I called my girlfriend and asked if she knew someone who could help because the alternative was paying for a really long taxi ride. She borrowed her mother's car and told me she was on her way. She drove to get me and back home, for which I'm incredibly grateful. She tried calling her sister to ask if they could help us get my stuff up, but she didn't answer. When we got there and still had no answer, we could either take the car to my girlfriend's mother together and try squeezing my things in the taxi. She could have dropped me off and waited in a no parking spot for 20 to 30 minutes, dropped me off and circled around until I'd be back, or let me out with everything I have, drive along to her mother to give her the car back, and get home with the subway. At least those were all the options we came up with at that time. We decided she'd drop me off with everything and drive to give the car back alone. It was a really slow and long walk because I had a lot of stuff and it was heavy, but I managed to get into the building. The moment I tried to get into the apartment, though, I was blocked by my girlfriend's sister and her boyfriend shouting at me, asking what I'd done to my girlfriend and where she was. Apparently, they saw she'd called and tried calling her back, but she wasn't answering. She was driving. They didn't let me get a word in, said they knew I was no good from day one, threatened me with the police, and slammed the door in my face. I spent a lot of really awkward time waiting outside of the door with my bags. My girlfriend finally came home, and when she heard what happened, she got into a shouting match with her sister, reminding her she lived there rent free. Her sister retorted, saying she was trying to look out for her and that she should dump me because no man should let his girlfriend drive alone at night. Things are pretty tense right now. Her whole family hates me, and I'd like to fix this situation, but I have no idea how. NTA, sounds like your girlfriend doesn't hate driving so much as her family's given her a bunch of weird complexes, grief about it. This isn't your problem to fix. It shouldn't even be a problem except that her family is determined to make it one. Just support her in doing what she needs to do to get them to back off and let her handle her own business like the grown adult she is. NTA, but your girlfriend's family is toxic, not just in their hostile and rude attitude towards you, but also in how they try to infantilize your girlfriend. She's 30 years old, well past the age of making her own decisions about driving and dating. It's good that your girlfriend has your back, but do you really want to share a flat with your girlfriend's sister? Perhaps you and your girlfriend need to have a conversation about your living situation because it doesn't take a crystal ball that the sister is going to make your home life hell.